industry as a whole right now, and just how this is an interesting time in it because of still some of the way legislation is.
Yeah. So you technically, can't cross state lines with products, right? So each state regulates the industry, as it sees fit. But therefore you can, and because it's federally illegal, you can't actually cross those state lines from different states. Even though now you have places like California, Oregon, and Washington, and now Nevada, where they're all legal, but yet you can't cross those state lines. So whenever I travel, I absolutely take, the opportunity to go into different dispensaries, whether it's in California, Vegas, now Arizona, because I want to go in and I want to see what's being grown there and how different those products are, and what's being, kind of spun up in different places. I mean, it's very unique for us at this point in time, because once things do become federally legal and more big business gets involved, you're going to get them bringing in economies of scale, and
we're going to get Marlboro.
You're going to get simplified, and therefore then, there will be different products similar to alcohol, right? But it's not going to be, even that becomes where for a long time there's a beer called Yingling.
Yep.
Sorry. Where you could only really get it if you're on the East Coast.
Yeah.
It's everywhere in Texas now.
Right. It's the same thing. Yeah. It's spread out in the last 10 years or so.
It becomes, where those unique items aren't necessarily any unique to you anymore. And, us as, marijuana users or aficionados, however you want to look at it, I kind of look at this as a very fun, unique time to be able to get those different experiences, because it isn't all the same yet.
So almost like craft beer popularizing, except backwards.
Yeah. No, you're 100% correct. And then just thinking of how like different growers do things. And, I was telling you about the grower out of Colorado that we are big fans of, House of Dankness, because
House of Dankness. I'm in the wrong industry for naming businesses.
His situation is so unique though, because he is such a good cultivator that he was able to kind of take his product and control it, right? He built his own state-of-the-art grow, which is, from what I've seen in videos and pictures, is one of the most incredible facilities there exists. And then, within that facility is an 800 square foot storefront that's his dispensary, where you can only buy his marijuana. And so therefore the product is consistent at all times, because the growing situation, the grower, is the same at all times. And that's when you start to get, when you're able to kind of find that consistent product, because of how the growing conditions can affect the plant so much, whether it's, the time of harvest or the humidity levels or how much light it's getting. Is it artificial light? So on and so forth. You can take the same strain of weed and grow it 10 different ways and kind of get 10 different highs, right? Whereas within his situation, an individual who, starts experimenting with his strains can get more of a grasp on what they like, from a hybrid or a sativa or an indica, because of the consistency of the product. And so, we're at a point in our lives that's pretty much the only marijuana that we smoke, because we know what we're going to get every single time.
Sure. And so is it not more, how regulated is the industry on quality of product?
Marijuana, unfortunately, I don't know that as well, because I don't have as much, experience in the growing side.
Or I guess hemp in general, like for whether you're growing CBD or CBG or anything.
So hemp in general, the regulation of is once again state by state, right?
Fucking what the Wild West it is.
It becomes it's a federally legal, product at this point because of the Farm Bill Act, but then each state starts to kind of get their own ideas of how they want it to grow. And then once again, because it is more of an industrial crop and it is being grown outside, those conditions once again play into a factor of those things. So, early on, Colorado was one of the primary points, along with Oregon, prior to the explosion of CBD. And 2018 really was that first year that all of a sudden there was farmers everywhere. And then what we were starting to see is like places up in Oregon, specifically Bend, where there's a lot of grape farms for wineries. The growing conditions up there were almost just ideal for a quality hemp product.
So similar wine and...
Yeah.
Okay.
So you're starting to see this hemp that's being grown up there that's got really high amounts of different other cannabinoids within that plant naturally, right? And so as those plants are growing naturally and you're seeing those distillate products up there, you're starting to, and then other products are starting to spin up. So for instance, a lot of product in Kentucky was just really high in CBD and there weren't a lot of other miners. Well, what are the differences in those growing conditions that is causing that? And then there's places in Texas or Arizona that were getting these products that were super high in THC and you know what factors is you know there that causes that, light, heat, so on and so forth. So and then what's even more unique is I once had a conversation with a hemp grower that a lot of federal people were very pleased with hemp growing because it was actually causing problems for the individuals growing marijuana in fields a couple miles away, hiding it.
No shit.
Because that the hemp was then in turn fertilizing the marijuana,
fucking war on drugs,
and man, ruining those crops. So it's like
it's tremendous waste.
So it was really funny to kind of hear that the federal regulators are excited about hemp being grown so openly because it's causing problems from individuals that are growing marijuana
so what illegally. You're saying is if it's not illegal, it takes away a bit of the black market.
100%.
I mean, and not only that, like the even silliness of where the black market still gets involved, right, is because if there's demand for a product and scarcity is ever created in, especially if this is a state to state thing, there's no fucking way that people don't have black market deals to be able to still fill out their product with someone else's grow.
No.
Even though that's fucking illegal. I understand how it fucking works. And like, what a silly thing that we're going to pretend isn't happening because of some silly legislation. Why are we forcing more black market happenings?
No, you're absolutely correct. And I mean, honestly, it also goes back to the expense of it, right? All of a sudden marijuana is made legal, but it's also too expensive because of the amount of taxes that you pay anytime you visit a dispensary, right?
Right.
So, you know, on the streets, a dealer may sell you an ounce for $250, but you could go to a dispensary and buy an ounce for $175, but by the time you pay taxes, you're paying $275.
Right.
And so then it's like, well, why wouldn't I just go to the dealer?
And the reason why, right, is they want us to believe, or the narrative is that this is easier, but that's not true. I'm not in high school.
It does make the average, 40, 50-year-old individual feel safer in some 100%. Capacity because they are, I mean, you're not really, anyone that's ever purchased marijuana from a dealer is probably not getting an education on what the product's going to do.
Yeah, no. I think as I didn't start smoking really until my 30s, I can imagine, yeah, the guy that I was buying weed from in Louisiana, shout out, what's up, dude? He just had weed.
Yeah.
Like, I just went to buy an amount, and that's what I got. I mean, that's how it works. It wasn't like the guy had a big fucking menu of options.
There's stem seeds and all sorts of other stuff.
I love the Apple Store vibe that is the dispensary world that we're currently in. I love that it's being far more normalized, and it feels somewhere that my mom can walk into and not be bummed out about.
100%, and that's the beauty of a dispensary, right? And so the problem, it all comes down to greed, whether it's government greed and them wanting things and being able to kind of, put their hands in our pockets in any way, shape, or form. Or, in some capacity, it makes people feel safer. As long as it's all leading to a revolution of people becoming more trusting in marijuana, which leads to, a potential federal legalization, I guess we kind of got to take what we can get, right? And
yeah, I feel the same way, right? Like whatever it is that gets us over that goal line of ending whatever this completely silly lie is of why we're mad about this plant or that it's unusefulness or any of these things. It's fucking incredible at this point.
No, but and especially with the marijuana side too, it's sometimes I do get frustrated with individuals who, look, I mean, it's the same with people who drink. They don't really think about what they're doing, right? And then you find a wine aficionado who's like, oh, I, this, and this because of this, and this. I'm not even going to be able to try to speak wine lingo currently, but, and so it does frustrate me at times because this is a really beautiful time in the history of the marijuana industry or marijuana culture, if you want to call it that, and people being able to, experience different things and really, if you take the time to learn, what I hear so often from people, I don't like weed, it makes me sleepy, or I don't like weed, it makes me anxious.
They're just bad at it.
they just haven't taken the time to learn themselves and learn,
Right.
you know, what they like. And where a part of strains being in the different growing conditions can play a bit of a factor in that. At the same time, if you're willing to learn the information and the knowledge, and the people are out there, right? And it's a matter of you know, taking the time to understand what those products can do, because, you know, I live in a very high pressure situation with my everyday life. You know, my wife and I live and work together. I mean, we're together 23 hours a day, most of the time. You know, the only time that we're not in constant communication with each other,
Well, you're
running or well, really when we're at the gym, right? We both get to the gym together. She does her thing, I do mine. But what allows us to like kind of, you know, exist harmoniously together most of the time is that night. That's something we share, and, you know, being able to, you know, have our nightly time to, you know, smoke and you enjoy each other's company and just shut ourselves off.
And I think that's really important, right? I think having some other tools to connect that aren't alcohol for people, or ways to downregulate that are actual downregulation, which alcohol isn't. You know, we don't see it chemically that way.
Breaking down our own personal walls of the frustrations of everyday life by, you know, being able to kind of turn those circuits off and relax and, you know.
For sure. And people talk about the anxiety, right? Or paranoia that come from smoking. What?
What's up?
Oh, I thought I heard something. Sorry. Yeah, paranoia that, you know, comes with smoking or any of that. And for me, I like when something gets illuminated of why I feel away. That means there's a thing to work on. And a lot of people want to avoid any of that and want to not dig into their own shit and not have to examine those uncomfortable parts. And they just want to disconnect, and whether that is going to be drugs or alcohol or sex or porn or whatever it's going to be. That's not the thing's fault.
No,
that's user error.
To a certain extent. You know, marijuana has been cultivated largely over years to be a much more potent product.
Oh yeah, because that is what we want. We want to get fucked up faster.
For sure. But the entire existence of CBD in marijuana is to literally help I mean, that's how incredible Mother Nature is, right? CBD exists within marijuana to balance out the THC.
Right.
You want to go back as recent as, you know, the 60s. Most marijuana was a 65-1 THC to CBD mixture of what was within the product that you're smoking. It's been cultivated and generated so long over time that now it's more along the lines of 250-1.
Whoa.
And that ability to want to just get fucked up and not necessarily just relax is part of that problem. And then the lack of education with most new users is kind of where we have to like find that healthy balance of products that are not only beneficial, but they're ones that also exist to, you know, put you in outer space if you want to go.
Right. Yeah, I think it's important to know where that one is, if that's the place you'd like to go.
And if we just continue to produce products that are only that kind of intense high, we're really not doing a service to the rest of the world that are trying to like dip their toes in and experience what marijuana can do for them.
Which look, I find a total shame, right? But as someone who's in the industry, I mean, what is it sells the best?
Well, it's a matter of what exists, right? We're now just getting to a point where we're starting to see more products that have a mixture of CBD to THC. And you're starting to see a lot of cancer patients. You know, I specifically know of an individual that my wife and I are friends with. Her mom had a brain tumor, and we were all in Colorado once. And she specifically was seeking out some edibles that were, you know, 1-to-1 CBD to THC, because that's the only thing that helps her mother operate on a daily basis.
Right on.
And so there are places for those products. And so it's a matter of being able to kind of, there's enough room within our industry to kind of have everything. Because at the end of the day, it will sell, you know.
Sure.
And it's a matter of also that education that comes along with it.
And within the cannabinoids, right? Like, I mean, there's 500 or so different?
Yeah, the number always keeps going up. I mean, from when I started, it was like 130, and then it was in the 2s, and now I have no idea.
Just a lot.
Yeah,
there's
now
a shit ton of cannabinoids that don't get you high.
100%.
And what we're finding out is the different strains of those seem to affect different things differently, whether that's CBDA or CBG or...
Yeah, so your primary ones are going to be CBD, CBDA, which is the acidic property of CBD, CBG, and now recently CBGA, where they're starting to see a lot more of that, and CBN, and then now you're seeing Delta 8 THC and THCV, and these all.
I don't know what THCV is.
So it's not a, you won't call it a newer cannabinoid. It's newer to market.
Okay,
right?
we'll get back to it.
Yeah.
So keep going on.
And then there's THCO, and then there's, what's funny enough is some of these THC components are legal, very legal, and some of them are, more of a gray area because they do get you high. But the primary benefits of our industry and what we do is all along the borders of CBD and its different forms, whether it's distillate, isolates, and then how those products are made into other products that are benefiting people, whether it's a topical, skincare, ingestibles, edibles, so on and so forth. But the existence of CBD and products of CBD in marijuana was essentially Mother Nature saying, hey, I'm going to give you something that puts you in a great place, but I'm going to put something else in there to keep you from freaking out. And so as we were able to isolate that cannabinoid and realize what it does for people and their anxieties and their, needs of sleep, so on and so forth, and how it kind of builds to within our cannabinoid systems, which, is along the lines of our nervous systems, has been really an important piece of where our industry has come from in the last couple of years.
Now, how long have you been operating in the CBD industry?
So I was recruited into the space in late 2017 after I sold my first company. I went to work for
what was your first company?
So I used to be a fight promoter.
Okay.
So over the course of I bought my
Did we start as a fighter?
Kind of ish. I mean, like I had some fights. Was I ever, was it something I was ever going to like pursue in a great way? No, it was just something I enjoyed and I wanted to have a couple and kind of go from there. But I developed a lot of really close relationships with fighters, fell in love with the sport, fell in love with the shows, and then had an opportunity in 2010 to purchase a promotion. And over the course of 8 years, operated that, grew it, was able to help a lot of a lot of athletes find their way to, bigger, prominent, more organizations like the UFC or Bellator. And then we signed a contract with the UFC to develop or to broadcast our events on their digital network, UFC Fight Pass. And then towards the end of 2017, I sold the company to a big roll-up entity based out in New Jersey. And literally right at that time, another guy that I knew and his partner offered me an opportunity to come work for them. They owned a brand called Pure Spectrum.
Sure.
And I went to work for them in March of 2018. And, once again, fell in love with that industry. My wife, fell in love with the industry, the products that changed her life. We moved to Colorado and it just wasn't the right situation. I realized that, I like kind of, being in my own world and being able to operate, how I see fit and following my moral compass. And I just didn't feel like mine aligned with the owner at the time.
Fair enough.
And
fair enough. Man, that had to be a fucking rip of a time though. Like during that decade window of putting on a fight promotion, there was like MMA is exploding.
It was the greatest years of MMA, in my opinion. From like, I personally believe like I got to watch and witness the best years of our sport, whether it was, in from the time of the Ultimate Fighter starting to watching, the last years of Pride into, some of the best years of the UFC into, UFC before they banned performance enhancing drugs.
Yeah, look, man, there's always in sports, there's always those interesting windows, and like the UFC, we got to witness it go from outlaw to a real sport.
Yeah.
And if you want it to be a real sport, you have to fucking get rid of some of the outlaw shit.
Oh man, when you look at performance enhancing drugs, like look, if you got a baseball bat and you're just trying to hit a ball, whatever. If you want to put something in your body for the benefit of my enjoyment, do your thing, man.
I think it's the paycheck they're after. I could be wrong.
Well, there's also
also winning.
Winning. Yeah. Winning always, but what comes with winning? a paycheck.
Bigger paychecks.
Yeah.
And also ladies.
Yes.
Trucks of gold.
And honestly,
gold chains. Rap careers.
Living in St. Louis, I bet you could ask the average person what were the best years of baseball, and they'd probably tell you when Sammy Sosa and
has to be.
And Mark McGwire
Fuck,
were
I bet that was fun in town.
Swinging runs.
Were you around for all that, Wizzy?
No.
Fuck. What did you even do as a kid around here?
Well, I didn't grow up here. I grew up in a town.
How dare you live somewhere different?
But I mean, that's one thing, right? Playing with a ball is one thing, but when you're literally in a sport where you're trying to physically harm somebody, playing by the rules to me is a pretty important piece. So as much fun as it was to watch, I'm glad that they, went in the direction they have, and you can tell that the sport is a much more even playing field now.
Well, and I mean, they have to figure out how to test and regulate and do it well, because otherwise people are going to cheat. That's what people do.
I just didn't even know all the ways people could cheat, right?
Goddamn, the whole sport of NASCAR is based on cheating.
Yeah.
Like the whole idea, and I love the honesty of that with NASCAR, it's simply like, they didn't say we couldn't.
Yeah.
so like the NASCAR rule book is so fucking gnarly, of like rules that they have to put in there because someone did. Like, I know it seems obvious that you shouldn't be able to fill your roll cage with fuel, but it adds extra gas tank. So you get an extra 5 gallons of gas. You don't have to stop in the pit.
That's
a really fucking dumb idea. Like, that's not a rule that we felt like we should have to tell humans of like, hey, don't make the safety thing that you're in into a bomb.
Yeah.
That's a bad move. Yet, that is a fucking rule.
I didn't know that was a rule.
Yeah, and so like, I love that about NASCAR, that the whole thing is based on like, what did they say? What did they forget to fucking mention? We can adjust that. That's where we try to find anything.
And all the different ways people cheat too, right? Like, I didn't even realize until I had a couple healthy conversations with individuals who work at the UFC about, the USADA program and how it works. And I got a very detailed, insight into it, because it was really becoming a very important piece of the UFC right around the time I went to work for Pure Spectrum. And, my job was to deal with the athletes and get product to them. And so I wanted to understand, like, what are the positives and negatives here? How could we potentially, cause problems within someone's career? That was very important to me.
Sure. Yeah, because right then, I mean, CBD's still, for the most part, I don't think it's new to athletes at this point.
Right.
Like, we're always on the cutting edge looking for anything that's going to help anyway.
But in 2018, it was still pretty new.
That's what I'm saying,
yeah.
For sure. Like, now, we fucking get it, right? Yeah. But 2018, especially, like, yo, are you taking weed? Like, it's still tricky.
And so much of everything we were hearing about, the UFC at that point was that the USADA program was just this intense situation of they come in and how they start testing people and the products, and they can get down to micrograms of finding things within people, and they start building blood passports on you, and to the point where if you're in the UFC, you can't get an IV at any point in time when you're under contract as or within the USADA pool of testing. And it's because or unless it's like a medical emergency and a doctor says you have to do this, which is the circumstance most people get IVs. But there's also circumstances of cutting weights. Yeah. But as athletes, we don't, right? Yeah. And so what I didn't realize is that guys were blood doping. Yeah, man. And taking bags of their own, blood out. To up the oxygen levels. And then, same deal with cycling. Yeah. And so that's essentially why they won't allow them to get, IVs anymore, because you're putting an IV into you to put the blood back into you. And so the rules are based off shit people did. That just blew my mind. I'm like, wait a minute. But what a performance enhancer. Yes. 100%. And if anything's consistent about athletes or people is if a thing is contested and there is a reward, someone will cheat. No, you're 100% correct. And so much of what I wanted to learn was like, okay, I just don't want to cause problems for somebody's career. No, sure. And so it was like learning like what are banned substances, what can problems, and then making sure that we work with a manufacturer who cleans their lines properly and only manufactures yes X, Y, or Z. But at the time there were no rules written by WADA on CBD. It was only based on THC and how high a person could be, through that, during the testing phase. And so there it was like, okay, this is perfectly okay for the athletes as long as there's a limited amount of THC.
Which is such a weird on or off, man.
I don't disagree
It's either
with
okay
you.
or it's not.
And it's gotten to the point now where, I mean, this was 2018, even over that short amount of time, it's the rules with marijuana has changed drastically within the UFC. But I mean, Nick Diaz, years and years ago, fought in Pride. He fought Takanori Gomi, who at the time was like one of the greatest lightweights, in the world, if not of all time at this point. And Nick beats him just in such a dramatic way with an omoplata, and the win ends up getting stripped away from him because he tested positive for marijuana.
Fucking good for him.
Now, supposedly, he tested so high that he was apparently just ripped during the fight.
Good for him.
But in the same vein of things, it always kind of, I'm a little dumbfounded that he had his win, one of the best wins of his career ever, taken away just because he decided to smoke some weed.
I don't think he considers it a loss.
I'm sure he doesn't.
Right.
But the history books, unfortunately, don't remember those things. It's always like but
at this point, I don't know that our history books are super accurate.
No.
So I mean,
no.
Putting a lot of faith in that whole thing lining out for eternities.
When you look at someone like Lance Armstrong, who had all his wins stripped away from him, but then they went back and tested everybody from like 2nd to 10th, and they were all dope.
They went down to 53 places.
Yeah, it's crazy. They were all doping as well.
That makes it an even playing field.
But he's the only one who had all his wins stripped away.
Right.
And it's always that precedent.
Yeah, they were out to get him.
Yeah.
I still, for the life of me, right? Like, unless with Lance, man, unless it was really eating at him, I don't understand why he came clean. Because I still don't see what evidence they fucking had. They had a bunch of circumstantial evidence, and they had a bunch of people who've now ratted on you.
Yeah, and I think they had somebody who was going to rat on him.
Don't matter.
And that's
they
kind
don't
of how it came
have
out.
a fucking negative test. Suck my dick. You ain't got shit. Other than that, it's called hearsay.
No, you're 100% correct.
And I never saw what the secondary move to him doing that it was the move to start. Right, like he didn't do that and then go into figuring something out about clean athletics or do something to promote a new book that had this thing. So for me, I never ride that one into the ground.
Yeah, the threat of prison time is always kind of a
There's that part. There is that whole fucking $100 million from the U.S. federal government that was your prison time thing.
It's like,
but again, they don't have anything.
Well,
unless you admitting gets you out of that.
I think that's kind of
there.
part of it, right?
If it just stops the bleeding and I don't have to go to jail, like we can just shake hands on this.
And the most frustrating thing about that entire subject is it's a little sad that we like to tear down our idols because
we love it.
How much good did Livestrong do for the world?
Tons.
And now it no longer exists, and everybody hates him just because he did what everyone else was doing.
I like Lance Armstrong.
I do too.
Incredible. I think as an athlete, I believe Lance Armstrong is fucking superhuman, should be studied.
Oh, from a mental...
Just as an athlete, high performer, got it. He's fucking got it. However, he's a cunt.
Is that... Okay,
because... he sued people and ruined their fucking lives over defamation.
Oh, yeah.
Over a thing you fucking know you did. There's a difference between saying, I ain't saying shit, and fucking attacking people.
But how much of who Lance was his physical abilities over his mental mindset?
I don't think one has to be separated from the other. I think he probably built the mental based on what his physical was always able to return to him. Like he found an outlet that just kept giving back, and that's where all the confidence comes from.
I think he was a very good athlete, but you're also competing where everybody's a good athlete. To be that good for that long, you have to be a little...
That's what I'm saying.
Your mindset has to be different, right? Like there are plenty of other guys who are more athletic than Jordan who don't have the accolades he does.
Of course.
And so it's so a lot of...
What I'm saying is his mindset doesn't develop without the physical part. His physical part is what allowed that thing to go, and it just kept returning every time he stayed on the gas and tried really fucking hard. It rewarded him by winning.
But he didn't really, it's not like he was like this, athletically gifted human being per se as much. I mean,
no, but he figured out he could outsuffer people.
Yes, but that's your mindset.
But the body never failed. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like he wasn't proving he could outsuffer people, and then all of a sudden he's got a bunch of ACL injuries.
No.
Or he can't fucking walk, or he has arthritis in his hip, or any of these other things that plague people of why they can't.
For sure.
There's a difference when there's a physical barrier. Like, he ain't fucking mentally toughing through some of those things.
But when you factor in the performance-enhancing drugs helping through that.
Look, man, I think I love when we get to see the combination
of
all the fucking chemistry.
100%.
All the brain and all the athlete. Like, I love when we get to see these fucking high-powered mutants get the full gas. I want to see what people are absolutely fucking capable of. I would love to see what Usain Bolt can do fully fucking gas to the gills.
No, you're 100% correct.
There's nothing that makes my cock softer than talking about how he did it natural. I don't care less.
Yeah, no. And more importantly, like, I don't think it's even healthy to do something like the Tour de France, clean.
No. It's a gnarly undertaking.
Yeah, no.
It's such a gnarly undertaking. And those dudes are such savages. Dude, they average 27 miles an hour.
Yeah, no.
Over the course of the month. They average that speed. If I go out on a bike ride and rip right now, and I've been training, if I average 20 or 21 for an hour is fucking incredible.
So then, is Tom Brady's accomplishments as a clean athlete even more incredible?
I don't think one's more incredible than the other.
Even after all this time in a team sport like the NFL?
I don't know. It's comparing apples to oranges. Different sport. It's different requirements.
Yeah, I just don't think Tom.
There's nowhere to fucking hide as
I don't think
Lance
Tom
Armstrong on a bike.
I don't think Tom gets just as much love as he should.
I think he should get shit tons.
Yeah.
He's by far the best fucking quarterback of all time.
For sure.
100%. The ability of him to show up and persevere and be able to make decisions.
Will his teams to win.
Make decisions and problem solve as quickly as his fucking brain can in the heat of that. Absolute super fucking human. Absolute. I'm incredibly impressed by all of it. But by both. I don't believe one's more impressive than the other, though.
I can see that. But that's
it's like which Avenger's the best. It ain't Hawkeye. We can all agree with that. No one wants to be Hawkeye when they grow up.
But as much as we like to, tear the idols down, maybe it's just as much fun to, compare and contrast.
We want to humanize.
Yeah,
that's the thing, right? People want to humanize them. People want to believe that they're. People would love to have a little bit more truth in their heart that something was the difference between Tom Brady and them not starting on their high school whatever team.
Mm-hmm. That
was Tom cheating, and not. You don't have it.
I know. I do. It's kind of wild how they always try to take the wins away.
You don't have it. You don't have it, man. I've been fortunate enough to know a handful of super mutants and a handful of different things, and I just want to watch.
Yeah, 100%.
That's it. I just want to see them fucking go full. How can I provide you more fucking resources?
So let me witness
so
greatness.
that I can see you do this thing.
Yeah, let me witness greatness.
Fuck, man. I just want to see it happen.
No, it is absolutely the best. So that was a very long way to get to me working for a CBD company.
Perfect.
Just really fell in love with that. We grew quickly over the course of a year. I was able to get us in as a sponsor of the CrossFit Games in 2018, which was just a blast, and that just took the company to another level. And it was a fun ride, but towards the end of it, it was wanting to do our own thing. And I just started to see so many holes within the industry of so many brands popping up and the average person not being able to differentiate any of them from a good product to a bad product because of a lack of regulation within our industry, right? I mean, there's so many people out there that are just there to make a quick buck that, they don't care. They're not putting full amounts of the right product in there. It's saying it's got 100 milligrams of CBD when it may have 50, and
Just lie on
you
packaging because there's no real way to fucking tell.
no. And man, you want to believe in the morality of people and them putting out good products and doing the right thing, but more often than not, most people just want to make a quick buck. And
I mean, so has the CBD industry, like, has it been more influenced by like the supplement industry, or is it the vitamin industry? Like, which one got it?
I mean, I don't think any of them, right? Because at the end of the day, I've always felt that, especially as the industry has evolved, that CBD should just really be treated as, kind of an additive or a vitamin as such, as something that we supplement daily, like vitamin C, vitamin D, zinc, so on and so forth. But the problem is it's still, expensive, not necessarily by the CBD's fault, because the price point of the raw material has been driven down drastically. But, a lot of these brands are still kind of living in that space of, their margins are still where they were, 3-4 years ago. They haven't really adjusted with the times. And then COVID kind of wiped out most of the mom and pops or the smaller brands.
Just like every industry.
But even more so, right? Because when you start to think about, when something happens and you're out of work, or your financial stability gets shaken a bit, what are the first things to go? The items that you deem unnecessary, like supplements or vitamins, or things that you just see as a luxury to your daily life, not necessarily a necessity.
Right.
And so that, and then it's very difficult for us to market. We can't run any kind of Google ads, or
so you can't advertise on Google.
No.
There's still issues with like accepting payments being weird, and like
No,
how to manage banks. Or
that's gone
been
away.
sorted?
That's been sorted out.
So
That's gone
CBD
away.
is cool to run through now any bank.
Yes. For the most part. Some banks are still weird about it, but for the most part, it's
But
not.
THC still isn't.
Yes, that's still very difficult unless you're.
Fucking weird thing, a different part of a plant.
Yeah. Well, it's a different plant, though. I mean,
Sure. Yeah.
To the point of what it is, right? You're 100% correct, and I mean, just
we don't do that for wine or moonshine versus fucking alcohol and beer.
the stories that I used to hear prior to it going recreational in Colorado, and then really before banks started kind of even trying to work with people, it was all cash.
Yeah.
And so, hear these stories of these dispensary owners or grow owners or whoever just having like Breaking Bad type stashes of cash.
Yeah, which is so fucking like there's some horse shit and hypocrisy within the legislation that drives me fucking bananas. And like even something simple that you brought up at the very beginning, right? That you can't go across state lines. So here in St. Louis, we're medical. Got my medical card. We got a great place right fucking down the street from a Suede killer dispensary. It's recreational across the river in Illinois. And there's a bunch of dispensaries in Illinois right across the river, as there should be. There's no real fucking cities over there of any population size, right? So their government is aware of where dispensaries are allowed to be put because it's fucking highly regulated and super expensive.
Yeah.
Right? Same over here. Now, to believe that these don't communicate in some way, I believe would be a lie. So you're telling me that the government in Illinois said these are absolutely places we should put dispensaries. Why? It's because they'll service the population of St. Louis, which is across state lines, which we know people are going to do. So we know that they're going to make that drive. We're setting it up for them to make that drive. That's why we fucking issued 8 dispensaries where there's no fucking population across the river to support those other than us now committing fucking felonies to go use it.
Yep.
The government said, that'll work great. We'll put dispensaries there. What the fuck are we doing? Like, call it a fucking spade, dude. That was the decision that got made.
Yeah, I mean, there was a decision made to obviously give somebody a license to be able to operate there, knowing what it was going to do. No, you're 100% correct, and man, like, just I even haven't had it as difficult as like, our partner Dan, who, was a founder at Pure Spectrum and then came with us to start Direct Hemp, and then has just recently went back and taken over as in the leadership role there at Pure Spectrum, and has done a wonderful job of turning that company around in a very short amount of time. But the stories he's told me, because now a kilo of CBD isolates, $500-$600 depending upon who and where you're buying it from.
Right.
A couple years ago it was $60,000.
Jesus Christ. So things have less margin.
Yeah. Well, not only less margin, but also it's like now it's more accessible, and most of the big brands kind of developed their price points when stuff was a kilo of isolate was more along the lines of 7-8K, and distillate was more along the lines of 10 to 12K. So that's kind of where those margins were built in. I mean, that's partially why CBD products were so expensive early on, but now knowing where the price points are and knowing that these brands still aren't necessarily quite getting with the times and trying to make this thing more accessible is kind of it's hurting our industry at the same time that it's...
Will it right itself?
Eventually it's just going to take the right brands kind of starting to drop to try to stay out in front of things, and competition breeds excellence. So the issue with COVID is it wiped out so many of the smaller ones to now where we're really only left with a lot of big ones. And a lot of the big ones only exist because they had established sales.
Sure.
And running and operating within just the space of online sales was difficult, especially a couple of years ago when we couldn't do any advertising.
Couldn't ship anything.
Well, you could ship, but it was also difficult. Things were getting, seized at some points, and we had lost packages, and it was just crazy to kind of live through those times. And now it's so easy. And then Delta 8 becoming such a prominent,
So run me through Delta 8 as I'd made the switch to just, why wouldn't I always just smoke THC? I like, again, back to, I was talking earlier, I like smoking. And so like the CBD joints that I get from the Oregon Original guys who helped me do the Habit ones are fucking great. Mm-hmm. Now they started making Delta 8, which to me, as a not knowing enjoyer of said product, didn't really bother educating myself a ton on it. I got to explain some pretty simple things of like CBD, plus it gets you fucked up. And I'm like, oh, and it's legal? Sick. Now I have some type of a weed scholarship that gets me also high.
So much of our industry is based off, our entire industry is based off the Farm Bill Act, right? And there's a lot of little pieces in that legislature that, products can't be more than 0.3% by dry weight. Any products that are derived from, hemp, other cannabinoids are fully legal, so on and so forth. Well, what's happened is you cannot grow strains of hemp that have high amounts of Delta 8 or certain other cannabinoids, right? It's very difficult, but in order to get to a mass scale, for being able to utilize these cannabinoids, because they all have different proponents and benefits into other products, is you got to kind of figure out a way to get there. That's where science comes in, and utilizing, CBG and CBD, because both of those cannabinoids grow in high amounts in different plants, taking those after the extraction process, and isolating them, and then starting to do conversions. And you can start running different conversions through, different acidic properties and residual solvents to, get to other cannabinoids, CBN, CBDA, so on and so forth, THCV. I wish my wife was here. Her brain, when it comes to the THCV and some of these newer cannabinoids, it would just melt your mind with the way she's kind of able to fill you in on these things and the benefits of them. And I wish I was as educated as she is, because there are a bunch of unique ones to THCV, which is another newer one that's coming to market with products.
So is the Delta 8, it's still a natural product?
No.
Not at all?
No. So basically...
So just so I'm checking here on legality of legislation. CBD grows naturally in plant, totally cool.
Yep.
Totally legal.
Yes.
THC grows naturally in plant, legal some places.
Yes.
THC, Delta 8, we have to completely synthesize and add it back to the plant
We're not really adding the plant because at the point it's synthesized,
so adding the chemical.
Yeah, you have a raw product
back to the plant so that it does the thing that the one that it grows naturally already did.
does. And it's all because it's derived from hemp.
Oh man, we are a fascinating species.
Well, the funny thing is you can actually derive Delta 9 from hemp.
Okay.
And then you can also convert CBD into Delta 9 as well.
What does Delta 9 do?
Delta 9 is the standard THC that you smoke day in and day out.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's just, so when you take THC and you start breaking it down to Delta 9, Delta 8, Delta 10, and now there's different cannabinoids like HHC, THCO, which I actually had an opportunity to dab for the first time the other night.
Okay.
Very, very interesting high, almost psychedelic in its own little fun way.
Do tell.
Yeah. It just, I was very like, I wasn't high, but I was just very like almost,
a little geeked out.
Yeah, just I was in a great mood.
Okay.
And I was very talkative. It was fun. You know, it was different. I'm sure if I dab enough of it, it will, take me somewhere, different, but
Like another realm?
Not another realm, but just, kind of start opening up those psychedelic properties.
It's an interesting, after, we've talked plenty about psychedelics, after you kind of, I always find that the energy or feeling that comes with psychedelics is very psychedelic. Mm-hmm. Like it doesn't feel the way alcohol sets in or anything else. And so I think like once you've done that a number of times and know that feeling, like it's easier with a microdose to be like, fuck is that coming in from?
Yeah.
And so like smoking something like that where you would get a slightly different, you're like, what are you doing here?
Yeah, it's
like we didn't do anything to invoke something like this to show up.
It's and then it's also, getting the psychedelic aspect of without the come up. That come up where you start to sweat a little and you kind of feel it in your stomach.
She's coming.
All of a sudden you're like, I'm tripping a little bit. I didn't have any of the annoyance that came with the trip, right? Or trying to get into the trip. So within these different cannabinoids, they are all synthesized through chemical processes, and they are specifically Delta 8. They utilize a lot of residual solvents. Well, because it's so easy and cheap to make, you have a lot of these companies that are taking this product, synthesizing it, and they're not cleaning it properly, right? They're not taking the time or putting in the necessary attention or love into making sure it's a good product for everyone's use. So now you have all these Delta 8 products that people are not only, ingesting, eating and edibles, but they're also, smoking them with these, lots of these mass amounts of residual solvents in them. So it's really vastly important now, just as important as it was with CBD a couple of years ago to really know your source and your product. And
so as Delta 8 has taken off and really grown in popularity in the last 2 years.
Yeah, that's actually
that's what I started seeing it at head shops and stuff like that. Like you can pick it up places that sell kratom.
It was right in the middle of the early lockdowns, right? Like all of a sudden it was like May of 2020 where like I really started to see it, and then people were asking questions about it, and I mean between you and I, my dumb ass was like, this isn't going to last. Like someone's going to step in. The government's going to pull it.
Right.
The government's going to do something.
Very confusing to me. Yeah. Why? I wonder. Yeah. Who fucking knows? I'm not getting them.
Here we are 2 years later. It's still very legal and, not a problem. And now to the point where our website, directhemp.com recently started selling Delta 8, as well as we've been able to, come up with and find different brands that are creating products that are 25 milligrams of CBD with 5 milligrams of Delta 9 THC in them, fully derived from hemp and completely legal because the product is less
because you can do Delta 9
because the product's less than 0.3% by dry weight.
Oh, interesting.
And the beauty of this is back to our very original thing that we started with, is now you're starting to get THC products with high concentrations of CBD, which gives you a much more even mellow high.
So would you characterize the high from Delta 8 any different than?
I'm probably going to catch a lot of shit from people, but to me, it really is.
No one's listening.
To me, it really is THC light.
That's how I described it as well to
yes.
people. Do you think that so as this continues to go, look, I believe that we'll have more legalization than less.
Mm-hmm.
will there still be a place for Delta 8?
Yeah.
Once, like, full gas is recreational.
Yeah. So this is where like all this gets so weird, because so much of people's wants and needs of CBD products early on was to, help with sleep and anxiety, right?
Mm-hmm.
And, between you and I, Delta 8 is a better product for that.
Okay.
Because you're a little high, and that's the plain piece. And more importantly, most of these Delta 8 products are cheaper than CBD products, right? And so it's decimated the CBD industry. But then on the other side, it's fully legal in states where marijuana companies are being decimated by it because it's cheaper than going to the dispensary and buying and paying all the taxes. So now you have two sides of the industry who actually aren't super thrilled about Delta 8. And then a lot of big brands have just started spinning up their own Delta 8 brands just to try to
survive.
Just to try to keep pace, right?
Is there some weird fucking world where we lose organic CBD and organic THC and Delta 8 is the only thing they allow because it's regulated, because it's an additive?
I don't think so. I think what Delta 8 has shown us is that, the United States, for the most part, is ready for federal legalization, right?
Is there anywhere where the population is still not voting, that the people say no? Like, I can get, I don't give a shit, but are there active places where the majority of people are like, this will fuck everything up?
No, oh man, that's like such a slippery slope, right? Because I want to say Kansas, but then Kansas has gotten really close to like passing some things, and I think they might have just gone medical, or I can't remember
fucking
exactly.
Texas is still as fucking stupid as it gets.
Well,
it's still illegal on both fronts.
As somebody who lives in Texas and is a marijuana enjoyer, I can tell you that there are a lot more closet marijuana enjoyers, and that's just it.
There always have been.
That's just it. It's all closet people, right? No one's really got.
Are you telling me that the majority of people smoking weed aren't black guys in the hood?
No.
Holy shit.
A lot of white people.
Holy shit.
I honestly can't believe how many, and I don't want to call them potheads, but individuals that literally smoke every single day now exist in my life.
Hi.
Yeah.
My name's Matt. I smoke marijuana.
Yeah.
A lot. It's been great for me.
It's been amazing for me. I can honestly tell you that I'm sometimes a better, happier person when I'm high.
Most of the time. What it does is it tends to slow things down enough for me. It allows me to be able to manage my own ADHD and fucking hyperactivity in a way that I can catch a hold of concepts and ideas and then be able to actually put them to work.
Shuts you down and allows you to reset.
Fucking just turns off the distractions for me. And so I'm able to focus a lot better. Also, it keeps me in a more creative space. I'm more empathetic. I'm happier. I'm in a better mood. I'm less aggravated and annoyed. For me, wildly beneficial product.
That makes sense.
With that said, I don't think it's for everyone, nor have any interest in who else wants to use it. Right? Like,
right.
I just am amazed that someone out there feels so adamantly against it that you're telling me that I, as a damn near 40-year-old man who doesn't get help from anyone and manages my life, can't do that responsibly? And that's what the legislation, like that's why it's illegal, right? It's like, you're protecting me from it?
I think part of it is also our own pharmaceutical industry trying to protect themselves from more problems within, the world becoming the world becoming fully understanding that we don't need to be dependent upon them, that there are much better natural ways to adjust yourself. You don't need Ambien. You don't need Xanax.
The pendulum will swing, man.
And so that's where the lobbyists come in, right? It's like, hey, we want this, but then in some weird, stupid way, it's being lobbied against by, how many different places. And, I have a personal belief that the FDA hasn't issued regulation on our industry because they're being asked to not by the pharmaceutical industry. Because once again, here is a a natural medicine that can be, given to people. In fact, Oregon State just came out with a study last week where the acidic properties of CBD, CBDA, and CBG, CBGA, has shown the ability to prevent the spike proteins of COVID from bonding. Now, none of this has been done in a human trial. It's all been done outside.
Well, because we're not allowed to study anything.
But the ability to see these products, show that preventativeness. And then, I want to say I read something in 2020 that they had seen that CBD and THC has shown resiliency to COVID issues or disease, so on and so forth, right? And so like you look at that, and then you look at this, and it's like, okay, no wonder if the FDA is just going to kind of let us flounder and not, after 4 years, come to the table with anything, there has to be a reason why. And it's probably because somebody's asking them not to, because it could cause a lot of problems for them. And
make money.
When you look at like things like Ambien, things like Xanax, things like Zoloft, those drugs literally exist to help people with their everyday problems living their lives.
Yeah.
Whereas you just spoke about how marijuana helps you live your everyday life.
Right.
And so that's just, them.
I also am interested in facing my problems.
Yeah. Self-preservation.
No matter what they are. Right. That's not everyone's cup of tea. A lot of people would rather take meds. And some people really need them. Look, I believe in the pharmaceutical company too, man. The pharmaceutical company has been there for me with fucking me being able to take testosterone, me being able to have fucking access to Cialis if I want it, or fucking any other miracle drugs they fucking made. I just wish we had the access to both options. Mm-hmm. I want holistic and science. I want all the options. I'm not trying to back one as right.
And they're all trying to get involved, right? I mean, you look at GW Pharma, and they were able to synthesize CBD and then put a patent on it. The U.S. government has a patent on CBD. There's a lot of unique things out there that you're like, okay, something's wrong here. And so, as much as it is like you mentioned, facing your problems, I don't necessarily think that the people that are taking those products every day, don't want to necessarily face their problems. Because marijuana could literally just do the same thing for them, and they're still not facing their problems.
I think there becomes a reason of why you are taking anything.
Yeah.
Do you want to disconnect from how you feel, or do you want to connect further to it?
But they can't make as much money on somebody's disconnection through marijuana, right?
Of course, right? This is the same reason they've struggled with legislation regarding psychedelics. Yeah. Like, it doesn't play well with a lot of those ideas.
No, you're 100% correct, and it was I was recently speaking to a friend of mine who has been doing some work with MAPS and some of the stuff they're doing, and part of their program is selling I think it's a gram of MDMA to these individuals, and it was a pretty substantial price point. And I was when he told me, I was like, what? And because they are a nonprofit, and he said that the problem is insurance companies will pay for the product, they won't pay for the therapy. So they made the product so expensive because it includes something like 20 hours of therapy. And that's how they get the insurance companies to pay for it.
Which, look, I don't know that I disagree with.
Yeah.
However,
it's sad that that's how it has to be, right?
Look, man, however, like, if we've been pulling this thing off in fucking huts in the jungle on fucking dirt floors, you don't need an Eames lounge to fucking sit in to tell me my childhood was shitty.
No, you're not wrong. But it's just the mental fortitude of the average person, and as they try to kind of like start that journey, just we all need help every now and then, and being able to kind of have somebody guide you through that, whether it's a counselor or so on and so forth, because not everybody is up to go into the jungle.
For sure. And
so, and as we've seen with ketamine therapy, that's been very beneficial, with people and being able to sit there and have a therapist guide them through that process. And
like, man, I'm stoked them. At least, like, I don't, ever's a long time. And I hate saying that, like, at least I don't think we're going to put the cat back in the bag on this one, but we've done it before.
Yeah.
We fucking canceled research. We have done that and just been like, oh, positive results are showing? Fuck that. Bury everything. we've done that before. And like that fucking stresses me out because I don't trust us to make the right decision.
It's so interesting because, you know, Dan used to tell me the story of taurine with Red Bull.
Sure, right.
When Red Bull first came to the table with taurine in it, it was never researched or understood by the FDA. And it got to a point where Red Bull was just so big that the FDA had no choice but to kind of let it happen.
Right.
Right.
You can't do anything about it.
Yeah. And what's funny is, you know, CBD is kind of a similar thing at this point. Like, maybe they're never going to do anything with it, kind of like they don't do anything with the supplement industry, right? Like, and what's funny is just how how humans will push things to the limits. I was at Champs last year in July.
What is Champs?
Champs is a huge marijuana and marijuana accessories convention in Las
Shit, like
Vegas.
the Arnold for weed.
Yeah, but I mean, it's just the most
Book us tickets, Brant.
it's the most insane items in glass and glassware, and you know all these different wholesalers.
I fucking love all the kooky fucking weirdos in the basement shit. I love every bit of it.
There was a bong there, and I wanted to buy it so bad. it had do you remember those? Do you remember going to Spencer's Gifts?
Of course I do.
And they had the thing that turned on and the electricity was in it, and you would touch it. It had one of those in the middle of the bong. It had one of those in the middle of the bong, and like you touch it, like it would be like hitting your hands as you're smoking. It was fun.
That's fucking great.
But we're at Champs and we're walking through and we're talking to people, and I see this packaging and it's psychedelic mushroom chocolates.
Yes.
And I was like, where are you from? And he's like, Oregon.
Yes.
And I was like, are you selling this? And he's like, in Oregon. And I'm like,
hell yeah.
To me, I was just like, well, yo, bro, you got balls. Because like it may be decriminalized, but now you're just straight. And he's like, decriminalization is always the first step. You got to be a trendsetter. And I was like,
dude, that's how I started getting mushrooms. Is in the chocolate bar thing that are beautifully packaged and well done, and like,
and he's selling them out of his store and he hasn't had any problem. Or at that point he hadn't had any problems. But what's even funnier is that just 2 days prior to me walking through and seeing that, the sheriff's office or whoever had just come into Vegas, or in Vegas had just come into the convention center and shut down every single person that was giving away Delta 8 samples. Because Delta 8 was illegal in Las Vegas because of the marijuana.
What big legislator is so proud of his day for that, right?
Meanwhile, homie's talking about the magic mushroom chocolate bars he's got for sale. Like, just blowing my mind.
Renegades. I appreciate that guy. I don't know where you are, bud, but you're an outlaw. Shout out. I like your fucking style. That may be something that I think the world would be better with.
It absolutely
a little bit of
would.
mushrooms would probably help most things.
I think most psychedelics the world would be better with.
So now that you're running Direct Hemp,
yes.
So what you've managed to do is kind of get the best of the best from the CBD industry,
correct,
and get it all into one place.
And now we're it's evolving into adding Delta 8, Delta 9, and flower products. You know, for a long time, we buy all the products from the brands that we carry. And we store them in a climate-controlled, FDA-registered warehouse. The reason it's climate-controlled is because CBD degradates under light and heat. And so, if I visited a bunch of warehouses actually in Texas when we were originally doing this, and this was, June, July, and it's hot in Texas. And every single one of these 3PLs had CBD products in them. And it's like 100 degrees in there.
Just cooking them.
And I'm just like, that's not good. And so the
product's bad.
It ends up degrading, right?
Right.
And becomes causing problems.
It's organic.
And funny enough, under the right light circumstances, CBD can flip into THC.
Get us some of those lights, stat, Brant.
And so we, keep all of our products there. So it's ensuring the, integrity of the product by the time it gets to you. But more importantly, it's coming to one convenient location, right? You can order from all these different brands. I mean, you've seen Bonnie when she gets her packages. Great. There's like, 5-6 different brands with, a slew of different products, because not every brand does everything well.
Yeah, the sleep stuff's awesome. The Charlotte's Web stuff has always been top notch.
Yeah, and they have been just such an amazing company to work with.
I like the bath stuff, man. I'll be honest. The bath bombs. Trying to feel pretty, son.
The sugar and kush bath bombs.
Man, think I'm not gonna light a joint, put a CBD bath bomb in there, and
the vanilla cupcake? Are you a vanilla cupcake guy?
Will Delta 8 work as a bath bomb?
Oh man, now we're getting into an even deeper
or suppositories.
Well, it's not at that point. It becomes more water miscible, right? So it actually, your body will absorb it. It's another chemical process.
Fuck yeah,
it's even different. So I helped develop a line of bath salts for Pure Spectrum when I was there. We did a water miscible product, and I would use those and had some different essential oils, lavender, so on and so forth in them. And I'd get out of that bath, and I was like, it would put me in a place of such relaxation because my body absorbed the CBD in such a wonderful way. I was just done. I would straight to bed, out, unconscious all night.
That's what I'm talking about.
And so
what I'm talking about. Take a fancy bath.
So sometimes you look at these bath products and it's like, okay, are they actually using a water miscible product, or are they just putting CBD in there, which actually never then absorbs into your skin?
That's what I've always wondered, right? Like as far as rubs or any of that goes, because Ben Gay makes my knee feel better. It ain't got shit good in it.
Yeah. So with a lot of topicals, it's actually much better to buy a topical that is a full spectrum product with THC in it, because the THC will actually go in and bond with your cells. And the thing is it never actually enters your bloodstream, so it can never cause you to get high nor test positive. So me personally, I don't know why all topical products aren't made with THC in them, because there's such high
and misunderstanding.
No, that's more along the lines of the average brand wanting to kind of
just not knowing
that, and then wanting to kind of be PR, right? Like, oh, this has no THC in it. Well, THC is not dangerous in a topical product, right?
We've proven that educating the public is it's a fucking slow drip.
But this is also educating the some of the brands as well.
Of course, they're part of the public.
Yep.
Just because you can run a business doesn't mean you
should be running a business. No, and so THC within those products is very good for you. We carry a muscle rub from a company called Extract Labs that we carry, and it is literally it's got 1,500 milligrams of CBD in it, and you can put that on anything, and it's gonna hurt less quick. Like I put it on my lower back, I put it on my calves.
Is that the stuff that you'd sent us
in the little round jar?
Yeah.
Yeah,
that stuff's been great as far as my knee's not too jacked up anymore. Patella tendon gets a little stiff, so having some of that like scraped into it, or if I'm having someone come over to do tissue work on me, I've had them use that product.
Yep, and it actually the way
I'm off the table.
The way that product breaks down under just a little bit of heat, it turns almost into like a coconut oil type product very quickly, and just you can get set into real deep into the muscle tissue with that, and it will help you so quickly. Love that product. So. And then now we're really starting to dive into like skincare, right? And really understanding like how CBD can.
What type of bro lines do we have?
Don't make fun of me, man. I use a CBD tincture on my face almost every day.
Same.
Every day.
I rub oil into this old man's. I'm trying not to look like Leatherface.
Yeah,
it's not a good look. I keep the reminder on my arm.
It keeps the lines. It keeps the lines looking good. So,
yeah.
I
don't look a day over 50. It's going great.
For the longest time, I didn't age, and then
it just hit you all of a sudden. Just woke up old.
Well, not even that, man. But like I was like 32, looking 22, and I kind of hated it for the longest time. Like people would be like, "What are you, 22?" I'm like, I'm a grown ass man. In my
grown
30s.
Ass man. I'm super excited about being 40.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm literally becoming my best self I mean, we're practically the same age.
Yeah.
I think you're 6 months older than me or something. So, I am too, man. It's
like, a year and a half out, I guess, April of 23, I'll be 40. And I think I'd like the idea of 40 because I'm not sure I'm allowed to kid myself that I'm not an adult anymore because I'm fucking 40. And so that means like all the childhood fun and everything, like I picked. It's not like it's just immature because I'm too young. I'm just weird and like doing these weird things. But I'm a full grown up, and I have to be able to be like, I look like a grown up. No one's confused that I look like a kid. I'm 40. I'm a 40-year-old man.
My struggles anymore with wondering how to dress.
Oh, man, that one.
Am I supposed to? Should I have the jeans with the cargo pockets and the New Balances?
Well, this is so I wondered
yeah.
this. We were watching Fantastic Beast. You familiar with the Harry Potter universe?
Yeah, I've seen the first one of those. I haven't seen the second one.
You won't need much to keep up with this.
Okay.
So, Brant, you familiar with these?
Yeah, I
All
want
right.
to call him.
So we got Dumbledore. All this Dumbledore, like a young, hunky Dumbledore hanging out with Grindelwald and stuff like that. Jude Law is dressed fucking super sharp.
Mm-hmm.
When did he decide just to wear bed sheets all the fucking time and go from being super stylish to being like, I'm a wizard. Like, I have to now dress like a fucking old wizard.
That's a very
Like, all my shit just drags the ground and have this hat.
That's a very good question.
Like, did it slowly turn? Like, some days he was still in the suit, but he was like, Saturdays are wizard's robe days.
I think he just got busy.
He just got busier. He's a principal. He's not that fucking busy. He's not Elon Musk.
I don't know. He's defending the high school and shit, you know?
That's it. High school, like I said.
I don't know. I feel there's a lot that goes on. It's wizards, man.
I look at the struggle as like, I look at like something like Hurley or Billabong, and I'm like, I can't wear that. I'm almost 40. But then I go across the road to.
Yo, that's who their market is.
Yeah, for real. Now we've all grown up into it, but. Yeah. But then I go look at something like Polo, and I'm like, I can't dress like I belong at a country club. And
T-shirts and jeans, man.
Yeah.
I'm going to wear T-shirts and jeans and Vans all the way out. They'll just be various tapers and skinniness based on style.
No. Yeah, no. You're 100% correct.
Hoodies and fucking pants. It's easy. I don't dress too fucking hype culture. Everything just changes its vibe slightly.
Just
right now, shirts need to be a slightly bit more oversized. Fucking fine.
But
whatever.
But then think about like the examples we were given when we were, kids at what guys dressed like at 40, right? Like it was
they're old men.
Yeah. No,
40 was
100%.
fucking old.
It was old.
I remember my dad turning 40. Like I remember my dad's 40th birthday, and I remember thinking, holy fuck. He's old.
And I definitely don't feel that way. I feel like my best years are still in front of me.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to play the game that way.
Yeah, 100%.
I don't know why I would. If at any point you hear me, I'm like, that's it. Everything good happened yesterday and back. I will fucking drive it right off a cliff.
Do you find yourself becoming a little cranky about dumb things though? As you
which is why I've completely insulated myself from dealing with anything. That's the only way this thing still works and functions and is able to produce content and make stuff is I can't deal with most normal shit.
My wife tells me I have shades of Red Foreman and just slowly growing into me.
I literally don't go anywhere else. I come here and I train here or I'm at my house. Like I don't go to the grocery store. I don't run errands. Everything's delivered. 100% of my shit in my life is delivered to me. And then when we leave town and we're operating and working or doing podcasts or doing anything like that, just close to all of my interactions are with people I'm choosing to go see.
That makes sense.
I'm super insulated.
That makes sense.
I've built that life.
I'm jealous.
Yes, it's great for me.
I'm jealous. I'm jealous.
Airports are a real fucking struggle.
Oh.
I don't like being on someone else's schedule. I'd rather drive. I fucking hate it.
That fits. We need to get a little more CBD in your life, I
guess. Just need more teleportation.
That's
what we need.
That should exist. But we can't even really get the car thing right sometimes.
Man, like I said, as much as I want to be able to pretend I think people as a whole aren't very smart, especially if I think of like how smart I think the average person is or wants to be or how inquisitive they are or thoughtful or aware. And then I think half is worse than that. It's a super fucking bummer. And I think all of those people still drive cars And the fact that getting around town in a city isn't a fucking Michael Bay movie
No, you're
all day
right.
long is incredible.
You're right.
There should just be shit flipping over and exploding all the time. It ought to be the most dangerous thing ever, is just being outside with people in cars.
I mean, you've never driven in Colorado then, because those drivers are just.
I think it's incredible that we pull off cars.
No.
We don't need helicopters.
No.
I don't think we
No
can
personalized
handle up and
helicopters?
down. I don't think we can handle another dimension.
What about those little those like rocket suits that dudes, like guys in the, you see the videos on like Facebook or YouTube now where they're like, they got like the little weird, you know, things on their hands.
So those things, right? Like when you get the ability to fucking Iron Man around, like whether you've afforded it now, you've acquired enough capital that that's the thing you now get to buy. However, or the guy in the fucking wingsuit that flies, like jumps out of a plane and flies.
Yeah.
With the big Breitling logo. Once that's a thing that you can go do, like today, like, hey, what would you like to do a day? Every fucking day's answer is fly around in my fucking wingsuit. Like, I don't give a fuck about anything else. There's no like, hey, would you like to go to dinner? Why the fuck would I go to dinner? I have a wingsuit.
To speak
Feed
on,
me as quickly as possible so that I can get back to flying.
to speak on the thought process of everyday humans doing that, the most realistic example I can think of what a bad idea that is watching people who try to do those ones with the water.
They're a bit of a bummer.
It never ends pretty.
With that said, I do think that they seem like a bit of a bummer. I've never done one.
No, me neither.
I bet it's very fun.
Oh, I'm sure.
I bet
it
I
is.
would absolutely enjoy the shit out of myself with a big stupid smile on my face. So I should probably refigure out the part of me that thinks it's dumb. Because I'm willing to bet I would absolutely love doing it.
Oh no, 100%. But
It
then
would be
like,
the dumbest thing in the world, and I'd be so happy.
but then the thought process is, oh, this could be easy, and then as you're doing it, you're like, this is the most difficult thing I've ever.
Of course, we're not meant to walk on water.
No,
Never built for it.
No, that's funny. But long story short, Delta 8 and THC will exist. It's already existing in some states. When you look at, Florida, they've made it legal. Tennessee's starting to treat it just like they do any other hemp products. Everybody's kind of putting down their legislature. Some states have banned it, so on and so forth. Like, we're very public on our, we won't, even though we're not shipping the product, just because that is one of the pieces that was always a fear for us was bringing those products and buying that it could become illegal at any point. That's a massive investment that could go, backwards really quickly. So, to be able to release Delta 8 moving forward, we partnered with the other brands that we're carrying that have these products, and they're actually shipping them from their warehouses for us. But we've also made it, we've blocked out the states where it's illegal and we're not shipping there.
Perfect.
Because
So you can't fuck it up.
Yeah, we want to be able to fall within their regulations. But there's a nice little line right in the Delta 8 products that says if it's illegal in your state, try Delta 9.
Fucking wild world we live in. Anyway, dude, I love the products that I've been able to try. And again, you're not making products, you're distributing.
Correct.
For all these other
Correct.
companies. So like I love the fact that it's just been this like best of the best that Bonnie and I go on and look and we pick what bath stuff I want. Skincare stuff she picks out, and then even the the rest of the sleep stuff or immune systems or any of the gummies. We know that you can take it in tinctures and anything else, but the truth is I'm such a fatty that if I can have it as candy, that's going to be the preferred method that I get it.
We're all fatties though, right? Like
if
you go to Walgreens and you walk over to the vitamin area,
they're all gummies.
it's all gummies. It's like the first time I ever actually did that, I was kind of blown away by.
Man, do you think you can track the popularity rise in gummy vitamins to the softness of culture?
That would make a lot of sense.
I don't want to take it. I know it's really good for me, but it doesn't taste good.
Yeah. No, I still
Make it fun.
It's so sad.
Fuck, goddamn, we're a super bummer, man.
It's so sad though.
Of course we're just going to stare at the TV until the world ends.
Eventually we'll just wear the TV and live in that world.
Yeah, that'll be fun. I don't know. This one's super fun. I hope we don't make that switch soon.
If it's not a simulation,
Is this currently?
Yeah, if this isn't currently a simulation, we're definitely headed towards living within one.
For sure. Dude, all right, let's wrap up. Tell me more Direct Hemp. I know you and I are talking to figure out how we can work together podcast-wise and get codes for these guys or whatever else. So.
So it's just directhemp.com. My wife and I own the website. We, try to do right by the industry and present people with the best products. And we always run a bunch of fun little deals in there. We're adding hemp flour, including yours, to the website here pretty soon, along with the guys from Oregon Originals. And then
so you can order Delta 9 hemp flour as well?
No, because you have that. Once again, it's a dry weight thing.
Got it.
So therefore, the dry weight of that hemp flour has to be under a certain percentage, so on and so forth. So you have to essentially take it, and then put it into other products as that. So like the gummy you ate earlier today was 25 milligram CBD, 5 milligram THC. Did you notice how big it was?
Yes.
It's because it
has to be
for the dry weight.
Got it.
And then recently added the Delta 9 products, and we'll be continuing to add a bunch of brands here, pretty consistently. And, we believe in fast, quick, easy shipments and making sure that we always put the customer first. And you can always guarantee like a pretty good response, from anything you ever order from us. I mean, we kind of take the guesswork out of it, right? We verify, vet these companies and give you the opportunity to, save yourself the time and energy of trying to figure out what's best.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, I love it, man. What we should probably also do is we should just get a bunch of the various Delta 8 flour and taste test and do like a fucking review about it.
So what you're doing is you're actually taking normal hemp flour, like what you smoke, and then they're spraying it with Delta 8.
So it's not even worth really.
No, because because what you're tasting is that flour. So that flour it's going to get the Delta 8, them spraying it on is going to give it a little bit of a different taste.
Yeah, but not the stuff you'd want.
Yeah,
not terpenes.
Yeah, but for the most part, all the terpenes and everything that you're, getting in that plant is because of what that plant is by itself.
What about CBD dabs?
Those do exist. There's wax, there's shatter, there's a number of different things. CBG, I've dabbed in the past, the isolated form, and man, it felt like Adderall. I was very focused in and just, really kind of got after it.
For the right day?
Yeah, CBN is, has more sleep properties to it, but they all have their own benefits in a number of different things. And we actually have a really cool brand guideline on our website that kind of breaks down, all these different components. And then we decided to try to kind of simplify that process for people, and we built out these different identifier logos on the products. So we actually kind of because everybody treats everything different. Some people treat, a full spectrum product. They'll say it's full spectrum, but then it actually is only a broad spectrum because it literally says full spectrum, no THC.
Right.
Yeah, that's not really a full spectrum product, right? So when you go onto our website, if we say something's full spectrum, it's based off of our standards of what we believe that means. And then we have these little logo and identifiers. You can click on it, and it gives you a definition of what that is, so we can simplify it.
So to run people out who are heading over to Direct Hemp, what are the top 3 sellers you guys have right now?
Charlotte's Web sleep gummies for one.
Fuck yeah.
The new Delta 9 and Delta 8 THC gummies that we've recently just added have just blown up here recently. And then, honestly, the Rise and Zen from Cured Nutrition. Really,
right on.
Really
good dudes. I worked with them years ago, and the nootropic stuff's always been
really great products with
super
nootropics. And then probably after that, I would say that the Muscle Rub, that's one of our best sellers.
All right.
Check it out, directhemp.com, and hope you enjoy your experience.
Dude, thanks for coming and sharing stories and shooting the shit.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
I appreciate it. Thank you guys, and we will talk to you next week.